We're ready to unleash the mighty road builder mod on our European/Scandinavian city of Fjords, and I've got a lot of fun ideas for custom roads that would be impossible without the mod. Like implementing the world's smallest tram network, or weaving in a complex railway line for passenger and cargo rail, or creating narrow custom quays, or maybe all of it. Lots of fun possibilities in a city where we are so limited on space, so let's dive straight into it right after this friendly reminder to give this video a like if you enjoy my content. Thank you. Alright, so of all the ideas I have here in Fjords, I think the train line is going to be the most destructive one, so we're going to focus on that for starters, because if we start adding more stuff, then obviously we kind of raise the complexity of trying to retrofit train lines in here. And I think I found a spot where we can place one of these very narrow detailers patch passenger train stations as well. So it's not just cargo access to the port, but also passenger access we actually provide. And I think this is the spot. We currently have the groundwater pumping station here. And the reason I placed that here is quite simply that we have a large groundwater deposit. And as we zoom out, you guys can see that there's actually quite a bit of a distance to our other deposits. However, we have one deposit up here, which we actually also have access to without buying another tile. So we'll be able to keep that upkeep down, which I think is very nice. So if we relocate the groundwater pumping station to the tile up here, that is going to leave us with just about enough space to squeeze in the narrow passenger train station. And obviously I am going to have to do some terraforming to bring rail in here, or just build any major projects, because otherwise it's not going to be possible. But at the same time, I want to try and respect the topography as much as possible. So we're probably going to use some tunnels as well, and some pretty expensive solutions. But I guess it fits the theme, because while this is like a mix of all kinds of Scandinavian stuff, then it's obviously a little more Norwegian than it is Finnish or Danish in particular. And I mean, if we go by that narrative, the Norwegians are, you know, masters of complex infrastructure, because they've been forced to with the geography of their country. And the good thing is that they're completely loaded in oil money, so they also have the means for it. Let's get this bad boy out of town and moved all the way up here. And I'm pretty certain this was a very, yeah, we can see that it's very groundwater rich. Just gonna pause the game before the city dies. And we're gonna do the world's most simple connection here, because it does not matter. And we're gonna provide a connection here as well, because why not? Now we've got a couple of options now where we can already use the road builder mod, because we could of course just bring piping underneath this highway all the way into the city, or alternatively reuse the road builder to create a national road that is a little more customized to our needs here in Fjords, and I think I opt for that. So I'm gonna select the road builder mod, and then we're just gonna select this regular 2-lane highway. And then the first thing I wanna do is bring the speeds down to 90 kilometers an hour. I imagine that's a little more realistic, especially for a narrow road here that's gonna weave its way through mountains and whatnot. Then we are going to have underground water pipes, and we're going to allow upgrading for electricity as well. What I want to do next is I want to narrow these elements here. I don't mind these lanes at all. I think this is pretty much the like setup we'll be going for. I'm just going to narrow the shoulders. We're going to make them 1 meter wide. And then the traffic lanes here, we're going to go for 3 meters wide. Like that. And this actually also allows us, if we move from transport to vehicle traffic, it actually allows us to remove the markings here as well. Which effectively makes it an alley that functions as a highway. So we're not going to do that. We're going to allow for buses here, because I think that's going to be necessary in the future. And I think having the middle line here go through is probably a bit important as well, given the still relatively high speed we expect here. But that's pretty much it. So let's just call it a narrow 2-lane 2-way national road, and we're just gonna hit enter, and that's about it. What we can do now, still with the road builder selected of course, is grab this one and say place more. Then I hit upgrade, I select this segment here, hold down the left mouse button, we zoom out, move all the way down here where this road ends, or rather transitions into a regular road, and I just align it and I click. And that's it. Now I just want to do a little checkup to see if we've got any like issues with the way the key walls are made or this retaining wall, and it doesn't seem like there are any issues. Although we do have, you know, a bit of a graphical glitch here because this is an upgraded like retaining wall. That's what they're called, right? Yeah. So I think I'm just gonna downgrade that. I don't think that's necessary. And the good thing is we have trucks here, and if I just hit play, they'll align themselves, and that's plenty of space. Plenty of space. Okay, so for whatever reason, I did have to like manually place piping underneath the roads. It looks like there's a double set now, but the one that actually follows with the road didn't actually provide water. So I imagine that's like maybe a game limitation because the road is so narrow, maybe a bug. I don't know. And we're now ready to jump into the more complex bits, getting the train station in place here. So I imagine we have to remove parts of Elizabeth Lane to clear out this space, and Empire Lane probably has to go as well. And then we have the small police station here, which ideally I really want to keep this, and I want the parking lots here to be intact and not be wrecked by terraforming. So if we grab the alley here and maybe align to about here, and actually I may need to flatten this a bit, you know, I need the train station in place here, so yeah, some terraforming is going to be necessary. Let's see, we'll go for maybe this area here, we'll go all the way over here in a straight line, kind of straight at least. It creates a key wall here, and it doesn't seem to really mess up the parking lot here all that much. It's looking all right. Not perfect, but it's looking all right. Then the next step is the train station, of course. Now we've fortunately got some cool options with the detailers patch, the small train station and the medium train station. The only downside to the small train station is that it doesn't really have any nice station buildings. It's got like some small sheds and stuff. It's really minimalistic, while the medium train station actually has like a station building that sort of looks European, rural American-ish, some weird mix between the two. So I think a compromise I'm going to make is I'm going to place the small one because the footprint is obviously smaller, and that is kind of desperately what we need here. So if I place it like that, then that's about as small as we can go. We could make a custom version, but there's a reason I actually prefer this version, because I do want some kind of European looking station building. So if we move in here and we search for the motels, the European motels, which is the same buildings I've used to kind of repurpose into a residential area here, then I think a few of these are actually quite fitting. In particular, there's this version here, which also offers just a tiny bit of parking as well. So I think that would be a good fit for a station building somewhere here. Maybe I don't wanna take the space from one of the crossings here. So maybe just down here where we don't have any other buildings that we would be covering up. So I think I'm just gonna place it there. And then hopefully this building is easily upgraded to the color scheme, the theme we've kind of got going here in Fjords. And then I think it's just a matter of getting this connection going. Just like that. We can do some super small, quick things to just make this a little more well integrated. Better Bulldozer mod, select this tool set here to remove sub-elements. Let's get rid of the fence here, the hedge. Don't think that makes a ton of sense. And additionally, let's get rid of the actual surface attached to the building so that it's kind of just a better fit in place here. So my initial plan didn't call for like a tunnel segment to start this soon. I thought that would be more necessary as we kind of reach this cliffside here, but if we're able to tunnel ourselves in here and save pretty much all of this neighborhood besides the one little lane we ruined, then maybe that's the solution we're going for. I'm just gonna check. This is 198 meters above sea level. Where do we reach that over here? Maybe around here. So if I just flatten this, and I haven't really created a good tunnel before, so cheeky indeed. Maybe if I'm just gonna outline where I actually where I'm working here. So if I can, I'm gonna get rid of the bushes and trees here, and let's just see how is it gonna work if I drag from the actual train station node. Is that going to make sure I get my auto tunnel in place? Or alternatively, is that going to wreck half the city? Maybe we should just do it manually. So this would certainly create a tunnel. And what I want to do is I want there to be like no slope. So 0.1% is probably as good as it's gonna get. We'll create that, and then can I go straight? No, I can pretty much. And then we get out here on the other side. This is kind of where I want to get to ground level. But of course, I'm a little worried where the tunnel is actually going to exit. It seems to be down there by the cliffside, which would be perfect, which would be exactly what we want. So let's click and see how that actually looks. It looks terrible. Thank you, Cities Skylines 2. Whoa. What is even going on here? Oh man, this is bad. Why? I mean, this looks kind of cool, but then it seems that the actual tunnel segment only starts way in here, which is super weird. Okay, so instead I'm gonna see if I can kind of enforce the tunnel segment a little earlier by making sure we have the segment here. And then if I can connect up to the segment in here. Hopefully, let's just see. Okay, that creates a connection, and we click, and please. That is much better now. Things are still looking a little wonky over here though. I'm not quite sure what actually went wrong here, but just kind of redrawing the segment actually made it kind of get fixed. So yeah, I mean, I'll take it, is what I'm trying to say. I'll take it. So we've got our entrance here. The tunnel should be, it's completely straight, more or less at least, and it has no elevation changes, so you can see all the way to the ocean out there, which I think is very cool. And we've managed to save the bulk of this area here, which I'm obviously also pretty excited about. Now, what I want to do is I may just try and make the entrance to the tunnel here look a little more smooth. So if I just do like this and kind of try and smoothen this out a little bit. Yeah, I think that's fine. I probably, you know, I shouldn't miss more with this. I obviously don't know how to build tunnels, so I'm just playing with fire right now. I'm gonna do something that's much more efficient, and yeah, I'm gonna cover it all up with bushes to kind of hide any imperfections, and then we're gonna call it. Yeah, it's only gonna get more tricky from now on out, because you know, the passenger section kind of ends here and then it moves back to wherever we connected up, but the actual cargo freight line is going to have to cross alongside this super difficult terrain and then terminate somewhere down here. I'll probably have to make like a port extension to actually get it all to make sense. And yeah, I mean, we've got our work cut out for us. Fortunately, we do have a bit of empty space here between the residential area up here and then the industrial port, which I'm hopeful we can utilize. But this section here is definitely gonna be an issue, because we can't realistically make a grade level crossing. I don't think that's gonna work out, because then, I mean, the rail would be at this elevation, and I don't know if you can see it, but yeah, that's gonna be like 10%. And it's not like I'm gonna try and adhere to like a super realistic maximum grade of like 2% for the cargo, but preferably I don't want to go below or above, you know, plus or minus 4%, because that's just going to look a little odd. So I think I am gonna have to do a little demolition derby here. So we're just gonna get rid of this segment. I just don't really see. I don't really see another way, and I'm gonna stick to this. That's gonna be the challenge, trying to work around this. And then I'm just gonna kind of like check the height. So we're at 188 meters here. And something I'd like to see if I can do is just get in a tiny segment of rail here. So I'm just gonna bring this out a little bit and then just lower it. So we're gonna be connecting this end segment here, or this node rather, to the node up here, and that's gonna be like our guide. And then what I think we're gonna have to do is we're gonna have to bring the alley in here behind it, so that we've got a railway bridge going across. I don't really see any other way, and yeah, we might have to remove a couple of these row houses, which is a bit of a bummer, but I'm not sure there's a way out of it. Anyways, the slope terrain tool is hopefully going to come in handy here, because I think we're gonna run into some issues if I just try to branch these together. I don't think that's gonna work, so I'm gonna lower the terrain here, because this is where we'll bring in the alley and, you know, bring a segment up here. But otherwise, actually, I had to wait with that. I'm gonna start sloping first. So this is at like 187. I'm gonna right click, and then if we move up here, we're at 197. And with the distance, it's going to be a 3.8% incline or decline, depending on the direction you're traveling in. Which I think we're just gonna have to play with this. So it's not gonna be perfectly realistic, but hopefully it's not gonna look too odd. And we're just gonna smoothen the terrain all the way down here. So now we should have a pretty decent, smooth terraform transition all the way up here. Or obviously, though, there are a couple of houses in the way. Now that I have this in place, though, I can right click here and just kind of flatten this, so that we're gonna have a bridge created. Maybe I should probably even try and make this alley here, although that might just make it harder for myself. Anyway, let's just try. I'm gonna connect here, and I don't know why it's nagging. That shouldn't be an invalid shape. There we go. And if I can do this without Anarchy, I will do it without Anarchy. And it seems I kinda can't. I kinda can't. We're gonna try and bring it in here then and connect up here. Looks super odd, but hopefully we can get rid of this retaining wall. Anyways, there's gonna be a bridge here, so I don't think it matters. Now the moment of truth is obviously going to be our rail. Is that... Oh, that's not gonna demolish the row houses. Really? 3.2% as well, which is even better. Let's just check how that actually looks. Okay, I'll have to get into some move it stuff here. Get that fixed up. Probably messed that up by lowering this segment. That's fine. This segment is looking pretty good, and the houses are actually intact. And with just a few move it tweaks, a few hundred I mean, things are starting to look pretty good. We've got this all connected up as well. We'll see if we can actually squeeze in some houses here, or maybe just leave this cliff face blank. That's probably what we're gonna do for now. And we're getting ready for the final stretch. I imagine we'll land somewhere down here by these small warehouses, and then we'll need to create a custom pier as well, of course, so that we can actually have like a small rail yard. But yeah, I think we have to level some terrain so that we can get a smooth transition going down there. Otherwise, this terrain is just gonna cause issues. So what I am going to do is, can I add like a temporary, oh, I destroyed a building, whoops. But yeah, I can add some temporary retaining walls here. That's gonna allow me to terraform this much more freely. Do I need a key here as well? I can do that as well. And now the stretch here can be freely terraformed. So what I basically just want to do is I want to see, okay, we've got a ground level here of 177. So we'll bring out the slope terrain tool and I'm gonna right click and then we'll see what kind of grade we're looking at. So if it's one, I mean, it's hard to see exactly the height at which the train track is, but it's probably 186 or something like that. So I think I'm gonna left click and just hold down the mouse, and then we're gonna smoothen or rather slope this out. And as you can see, the retaining wall and the key really allows me to keep this completely smooth, so that we have this look, which is, it looks pretty good. I mean, that looks pretty smooth at least. We are gonna see how much elevation we're actually looking at, because it's a little hard to judge where the actual track begins, right? So continuous tool, probably just connect here. We'll find 180, 13%, yeah, that's probably not it. And once again, if I can, I would love to adhere to like 4% as the like maximum. And that actually seems to be pretty tricky unless I have kind of a, I can use move it to change the exact curvature though. So I think that's fine. So let's just see 3.9. We're starting to be in a good spot down here. I think we can 3.9 around here, and we're gonna click. And just take a look to see just how smooth this is and whether that's fitting. It looks pretty good. This looks super wonky though. We might want to fix that up. But I think for now, this is actually pretty good. Pretty good transition down here. We can use move it to just adjust the nodes a bit. They should stay at the, oh, this is actually just one node. But I guess if I, or one segment rather, click this, I should be able to like adjust it ever so slightly, so that it's a little more fitting, just like that. And then my plan is basically to turn this into a key wall all the way down here, and then we're going to not have this be a retaining wall anymore. Yeah. And let's just make sure we built what we destroyed there. So just gonna see if I can get in like a 6x6 building. I don't actually remember the size of the one I destroyed, but this seems pretty perfect to me. Can I just grab it and maybe move it ever so slightly? There we go. Now, before I start building the rail yard and custom pier down here, I want to do a little road builder adjustment to the train line we've got here. So we're just gonna let's see, we'll take this segment here, and then I want, you know, currently the two shoulders on either side, they are 2 meters wide, which means they can both accommodate catenaries. But actually I just want catenaries on the outside and then kind of reduce the size of the shoulder on the inside. So this is not the one, but this one is. So if I do like this and reduce that to 1, I've effectively made this segment a little narrower. And yeah, I'm just gonna say narrow, two-way train track. Speed limit 170, it's gonna be 100. The reason I'm not completely removing the shoulder is that I am going to have some texture and clipping issues as we transition into this bridge element. So I'm not gonna attempt to make it more narrow than this, and I need the catenaries, so I can't make this 1 meter either. Anyways, we're gonna grab this one and we'll do some upgrading. Now I need to be careful in whatever direction I upgrade here, because that's gonna affect where the catenaries sit on this segment here. So, oh, this is, oh, wait a minute, what am I talking about? Edit all instances, this is in both directions, of course. Yeah, never mind. I don't want it to be one way. Place more, and we're just gonna get the alignment here. So catenaries on the outside, so I have to drag this way, it seems. Now, interestingly, this does make the nodes, or the tracks rather, visually a little misaligned as we transition to the, this is with double keys on either side, and this is the bridge segment. But the actual solution to this is super easy. We're just gonna grab one of the small elements here with manipulation mode and kind of just bring that back and then do the slightest alignment. And that's pretty much it. It also creates a smoother transition, so all is good. Gonna do the same here. Just bring that up a bit. Maybe also just do a little adjustment here because it seems this one is gonna need a little more work, but that's pretty much perfect. All right, so the next tricky part is going to get the rail line down here and create a small rail yard. And I think for this industrial segment we'll be handling like regular container cargo rail, mainly at least. But I mean, before we decide on anything like that, we obviously just have to kind of do a bit of land reclamation, like a lot of land reclamation. And this is just so that I have enough space to work with, because I think I've got a bit of an idea to make this a little more interesting. But we're just kind of starting with this, and then I might do something with a little bridge here and like a little inlet here, something like that. We'll see. With the land here in place, I need to get rid of a warehouse or two here. Probably, I mean, maybe I can just get rid of the one here. And then I need to bring our custom rail line in here, obviously. But I think I would like to have one additional node. So let's see, probably had to use Anarchy here because I used Anarchy to actually build the rail. So I'm just gonna enable Anarchy just so I get an additional node. And yeah, I've got 8 million bushes in the way here that I'm just trying to kind of clear out. There you go. Now I think I want to reuse the the narrow two-way train track we have here, and then we'll have to see if there are any issues with like connecting it. But I'm also going to use the road builder to create a custom rail yard, because I think I have an idea for how we can create that a little easier than what we have to do without the road builder. Let's enable the curve tool and see if I can get a smooth transition in here. I may have to kind of move the warehouse here just a little bit, but I would like to cross at this area where the road kind of has a little kink, and that's pretty much what I want. So ordinarily without the road builder, I'll be creating the rail yard by adding like maybe 3 or 4 tracks very close together, and it's kind of finicky because I kind of want to make sure, of course, that there's like no clipping, and the actual transition into this single line here is also really finicky. But I think I have an idea for how we can make this a lot easier. So I'm just going to align this this double train track, sorry, so that it is straight from this segment here. And then I think I'll just bring it out to let's see, about here. That's probably fine. Then we'll grab a road builder, and we are going to add a 3rd train track. Then we're going to convert all 3 tracks so that they are dual directional, so that we don't have any issues down here. And then we're going to keep the catenaries here, I think. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. I mean, now we have a we could double 3 lane. Is that a 3 line rail yard track? Yeah, I'm gonna reduce the speed limit here by a lot to like 50, and we're just gonna save that. Yeah, like I've said, mentioned before, naming, definitely have to work on that. Anyways, makes it super easy, to create this custom track, and then we just have to bring this in. And I mean, just look at how smooth that transition is. I'm just gonna disable snapping so I can get the 180 right about here. And then of course what we can do is we can grab manipulation mode here, hold down Alt so that I drag this in a straight line. I'll find the node over here, hold down Alt, and then we're just gonna add a little more space here to the node so that the turn here is a little easier for the cargo. And that worked out wonderfully. And the transition here, is absolutely perfect. I don't have to do any micro adjustments to my custom narrow train track here, so that's perfect as well. Now I think preferably I would like to have a bit of an extra interesting design here. So maybe if we, let's see, if I create a track, something like, actually maybe that should just be, should that be a single? No, it's gonna be a double. So I'll just use the regular double track here with a straight segment to right about here. Then we're gonna enable curve mode. Gonna go 180 and see if I can get a smooth transition. That's absolutely perfect. What I'm gonna do now though is I'm gonna use the road builder to make these tracks go in both directions. So I'm just gonna call it bi-directional double train track. Yeah, naming once again. Here we are. It makes sense to me at least, and we may even opt for like just one catenary piece here. Would that, is that gonna, it's not gonna be, it's not really gonna be sufficient, right? Because it actually it's only gonna cover the one, I think. No. Actually, I'm gonna keep it just because it looks a little different here, but yeah, we'll see. I might change that. Anyways, that kind of covers the rail yard. Now, all we need to do is, of course, add in some quays so that we can actually start terraforming and make this look like a proper port area. We're gonna keep the breakwater here as the like one edge of it. So I think I'm just gonna move into the key option here and just remove that. And then what I would like to experiment with is creating a thinner variant of this alley here to get a thinner key going, basically, because I mean, I don't mind the look of these. They are relatively thin already. So for a vanilla build, I think this is quite sufficient. And the same over here for creating these keys for your port areas. But we now have the possibility, of course, of making them even thinner. So I'm just going to do a little extra terraforming. I'd rather have a little too much space than too little, because we can always, of course, adjust this when we're done with the build here. And then what I want to do is I kind of want to align it so that it follows the train track here. And it's 3 tiles deep, which I think is sufficient for what we need. As far as not zoning, I'm probably going to manually be placing this stuff. But I think I just want to, actually I would like to have a bit of an angle here as well. So we'll just branch out 90 degrees exactly, try to connect up, and that looks all right. Now, the magic trick, once again, we're gonna grab Road Builder, and then to actually get this like really thin, we can't adjust the lane width to anything less than 3 meters. We could remove one of the shoulders, like for a start. That is gonna definitely make it thinner, but what we could also just do is actually remove one of the car lanes and just kind of flip the direction here. Now, as you guys can see, we do have a bit of clipping here, a bit of like, this is a trip into the void. But this is going to be used as a key, so we might as well just upgrade it and see how that looks. So it's still got a bit of clipping, but I'm pretty confident that if we just edit it and we add in the shoulder, like a 1 meter wide shoulder on the other side, then it's gonna be fixed up. And it is, and it even transitions perfectly into the existing alley. So once again, shoulders can be a little finicky to work with, and you may just, you know, want to keep them because, yeah, it's gonna be tricky if you don't. Anyways, this is our one-way key alley. I don't think alley is fitting, so we'll just go with one-way key. And we're gonna click on it, we're gonna say place more, and then we're gonna do a little upgrade here, we're gonna do a little upgrade here, and I think we're gonna keep this as is. So this is like an area where you can just like kind of turn. And let's see. Now I think one of the cool aspects by using the one lane here is that, you know, functionally it's gonna function just fine. You can get some traffic jams, like if you use these in very critical areas, but there aren't any arrows to indicate that it's, I mean, there's one here, but I mean, technically we can actually get rid of that. And then there's nothing that really tells that this is a one laner, so you can kind of just imagine that it's actually bi-directional. It's just a little narrow. But with this created, I did mention I had one more idea up my sleeve. So I think I'm gonna, where is it? It should be on the roads, and it's on the small roads runway key. All right, so what I think I want to do is like create the little inlet here that I talked about. So if I just go in like this, and then maybe we just do like a 90-degree angle here so we can fit in like a bit of parking, a bit of industry. And then obviously we'll need to add key walls here. And what are we doing here? We are upgrading this to a bridge segment, an elevated segment, and then we're ready for some terraforming. So I'm gonna go with a smaller size and a smaller brush strength here because I kind of want to keep these edges here kind of smooth. And then we just move in here. We'll need to turn this into a key element as well. But I was thinking of doing something like this, and then we're just gonna smoothen this a bit. Maybe keep this tree, that's a fun little detail. Probably need to just clear out this a little bit. I may have removed too much actually, but yeah, we're keeping this. We'll grab our road services tool, add another bridge, add the key segment here. And I see we have a little more terraforming ahead of us. Just get this all terraformed up nicely so we don't have any terrain poking through. We've got some stuff over here. It's very shallow, so I have to move real close actually just to make sure that this looks right. But I think we're getting there. Gals and guys, are we keeping this little bridge, this weird little inlet? What was this even used for? Yeah, I'm not sure I have the narrative to actually support the weird little thing I've done here, but if you've got an idea, I'm all ears, so let me know in the comments. But I think I'm gonna keep it for now. It's kind of interesting at least. Anyways, we need to build this port area, and I've got an idea for how we can do that relatively quickly. So I kind of want to reserve this area here next to the rail yard to like the actual area where the containers are kind of loaded. So I'm gonna be very restrictive with like industrial buildings here because it needs to be an open space. And then we'll have a few industrial buildings here, probably one here, and a couple in this odd space here. So I think the first thing I'm just gonna do, I've already got the container ports ready, but what we're actually gonna do is jump into some industry here, and then I'm just gonna find some buildings, you know, based on the size I have available. So this is free zoning tiles deep, so I'm just gonna go for free. Maybe I'll grab a 2x3 to actually just kind of fit in here and kind of be the final point here of the like container terminal. So I'll see if I can just squeeze this in here real close to the tracks, something like that. Maybe go for like a 2x2. Do I have a 3x2 that I can kind of squeeze in here next to it? I mean, kinda, sorta, not fully, but yeah, I think we'll go for a 2x2 then, like something real small. A very simple kind of like manufacturing building, something. Oh, actually, I kind of want to align it at an angle to maybe cover up parts of the track here. So we are going for a 3x2. Then I'll find something that looks like a bit more heavy industry stuff. And then I'm just going to stitch these two buildings together. And hopefully I actually don't move, you know, outside of the road connection range, but it seems fine. I'll just add that there. I could maybe remove, let's see, I can remove this stack here so that it doesn't clip into the road, but so far so good. Now I need something down here. Once again, we've got a, you know, 3 deep, something like this. Do I have a 4 wide we can fit in? Then maybe that would be fitting. Make this building go here, and then we'll just grab a smaller one. If I can get a bit of parking like this, that would actually, I think that would be fine. Can I align this at the corner here? It's gonna clip a bit into the train tracks, but as long as we don't have like a fence as part of the building, which we don't, then there's actually nothing visible clipping into the train tracks, which is nice. We could even move this closer to the road, it seems. So far so good. We should have a bigger spot over here. Yeah, we can go 5 deep over here. And we probably are going to go 6 wide if that's possible. Seems to be. So that we can get a bit of... Actually, I'm just going to go 5 by 5. That's... I didn't really like the design there. Something like this, where we actually have a few container props already part of the structure behind the building. That's pretty much the perfect fit we're looking for, because it's right next to the rail yard and the container harbor. So I'm just going to bring this back a bit. And then I'm going to remove a fence so that I can do my own kind of custom extension of the surface and add a few props here. Make the building just look a little more seamlessly integrated to this odd lot, because I don't think it makes sense for it to have a completely square lot and this just to be random stuff. Let's see if we can find something a little smaller here with a good industrial vibe. So we're definitely going a bit too deep now. So 4 by 3, we might just about be able to kind of squeeze that in. We're going a little smaller, it seems. I mean, alternatively, I'm gonna actually just leave this kind of like empty space. Might create like the foundation for what used to be a building here. I mean, I think even an area like this might have seen a bit of industrial decline, at least a building or two being removed or demolished throughout the years, as some industry has struggled to keep up. We'll add a building in here though. Just gonna bring it a little back from the road and move it a bit into the tracks, just a little bit, something like that. And then we need a final building here, and I may just opt for one of these long slender ones because they look a little different, which is what I want. I'm gonna bring it a little back once again so that it kind of moves into the awkward space left behind here, and then we can expand the surfaces so that this space here is utilized. Before we do any of the detailing needed on this side of the rail yard, I think I want to get like the container segment done, because that's kind of the focal point here. So we're gonna go into services. I'm just gonna grab this simple pavement 01, I think. I think that's gonna be the fitting surface to use here. We're gonna really stain it up with decals though. So it's going to look like it's very own beast. And then I think we're just gonna bring it down here, because I'm gonna expand on the surfaces already part of these buildings, I think. So if we just kind of bring that in there, that looks a little more seamless. We can kind of expand this segment as well. Let's see if we can 180-degree angle. Good. Now we've got this space, and now we can grab these wonderful container assets. And I don't want too many containers here, so I'm kind of looking for like actually something like this might just be the perfect fit for what I want. Alternatively, I'm going for 2 like smaller stacks so that I can maybe create like some track decals in between. I'm just gonna see if I have the space for 2 smaller stacks. Oh, whoa, this is way too stacked. Could go for this one as well. I think I'm gonna keep it simple. We are going to grab this one and we'll just keep it at that. I think I'm just gonna flip it like this, and yoink, that's gonna be it. So something I'd also like to add is a ship that's actively docking right now. I'm gonna make sure I grab the prop variations. I'm gonna move in here and actually find it. Cargo ship 01. And I think we're just gonna align it like this. I hope there's enough space here. I'm definitely not an expert in the matters of cargo ships, but you know, this is a bit of a smaller cargo ship. So I hope there's enough clearance. Then we're just going to elevate this to, I kind of wanna add some containers onto it so that it's actually, you know, it's actively unloading or offloading, one of the two. Let's see what we can find. I kind of want to use the same, but just add I'll find something a little more interesting. We'll go for this medium and then maybe a small stack up front, because I don't want to clip into like this bridge we have here either. So I have the snap to surfaces of an object enabled, as well as snap upright, and that's going to allow me to perfectly place these containers on top of the actual ship here. So I'm just gonna place that there. And I'm gonna find the small stack here, maybe do a bit of an alignment, kind of like this. And then I could kind of spice it up by just adding a few random ones just to make it a little more customized. So I might, actually I'm not gonna do that. This is fine, perfectly random. I also want to add some actual like train cars here with some containers on them, as I'm imagining that is also being actively loaded. So I'm going to grab the train cargo car 01 prop version here, line mode. I have the fence mode selected, and that is going to allow me pretty much to drag it from all the way out here with perfect distance in between them. Something like this. And I think I'm going to drag out a segment more, and this time I'm just gonna make it a little async by not having it moved all the way down here. I kind of want to reserve this third track here because I am going to be adding, let's see, we'll be adding the integrated cargo train stop. So I can add this if I don't have Anarchy on, I can't, but if I have Anarchy enabled, I can add this stop here, and when I get a rail yard, I can actually connect this like to other parts of the city or like an outside connection. There's not gonna be any cargo on the actual cargo train load or freight train that we'll be seeing here, but I mean, that's a compromise I'm willing to live with, because I wouldn't be able to kind of fit the actual cargo station in here, but it's just gonna be cool to see the freight train move back and forth. Anyways, yeah, so I need to fix the height here, so I'm just going to move this up again. And then the important part is I'm going to click it and I'm going to click elevation lock. Anyways, now we're about ready to actually add these containers to some of these train cars here. So we're just going to grab the, let's see, don't I have a random selection? Shipping container random. Thank you very much. Now this is a little finicky, but you can sometimes kind of snap these to the actual cars. And sometimes they won't. You can kind of see when it wants to work and when it doesn't. I think we should be able to fit two here. And if we snap them relatively close together, it should work, because they kind of want to snap. There's like there's a bit of a dead space where they don't want to snap to the actual train cars and they're just gonna sit on the ground. But if you move them real close and tight together like this, they are actually going to snap. And I don't think I'm gonna add to all the cars here. We're gonna keep a few kind of empty. I don't know if you'd ever do that, if that makes sense at all, but I mean, I think it's gonna look a little more interesting anyways. And we're gonna do the same for the cars in here. Some yellow decals or markings to kind of separate this area and kind of highlight these spots for each container would really do well here, I think. So we're gonna move into net lanes. And let's see, we've got some road markings, probably gonna need some US style to get the yellow lines. We do indeed. And then I'm looking for like a fixed line. North American car center line, single lane. That sounds pretty good. I think I'm gonna disable snapping here, and then I'm just gonna find like the edge of this very container here at one of the corners. And then I'm just gonna drag this out. And I kind of have to go by eye here, you know, kind of find the edge here. But maybe I should be able to kind of manipulate this with move it, although I have so many props at play here, as well as the ship, so it might actually be kind of hard. So, I mean, I think this first initial setup here is kind of as good as it's gonna get. Oh, is this going to work out? Is this going to work out? I mean, that's gonna be a yes. It's not gonna get any better than this. So I'm pretty happy with this initial line. And then I'm just gonna map out this crossing here so that each container kind of has a highlighted space, or at least each of these container lanes. And then we'll see if we actually do spots for each container. That might be like a little too much. And the line here is, as you can see, it's a little wonky, but I think that's okay. If I can do an easy small adjustment, I will. If I can't, then I think that's fine. You know? I was able to do like a little manipulation with Move It, so I think it looks a little better, but it's definitely not perfect. I'm not gonna do all the cross lines here though between each of these rows of containers, because I think this is fine. This is fine, no more finicky line work. And I'm pretty happy with how this has actually turned out. It also looks like there's ample room for like trucks to come in here. So we've got 3 modes of transportation in place, which I think is really cool. And I think with this general setup complete, we are ready to dive into a small detailing session. I'll primarily be expanding the surfaces of the already existing assets for consistency. Might use a few others as well. Probably gonna create a few custom but functional parking lots and use a ton of decals, and obviously duplicate some of the props we already have available here. Alright, I think that's it for the detailing session, and I'm very, very pleased with how this turned out. But I also did do a few additional things, as you probably saw. I created a few islands out here, not really sure why, but someone did comment that these houses are pretty vulnerable in terms of like flooding or like a crazy storm. So I don't know, maybe that's what spawned this idea, and I might add even more islands here and there. And then of course the big other thing I did was build the rail yard way out here, because it's way too big an asset to actually fit within the theme and context of Fjordholm currently. But unfortunately I needed to actually be able to spawn trains, so I kind of wish there was like a different way of doing this. But to actually get the trains connected up to my cargo and passenger line in here, I kind of just had to. And speaking of the devil, we've got our very first cargo train, albeit empty as I mentioned, because it won't really function, entering our new rail yard. So I'm just gonna check if it parks correctly. I'm pretty sure it's not going to like clip out of the end of the rail here, so it should work just fine, but let's just have a look. Some very, very impressive brakes on this train here. I'm no train expert, but that was very impressive. But that is gonna be it for this episode, guys. Now I had kind of hoped I could get started on this very, very small tram line. I kind of envisioned to kind of loop the downtown here with a depot somewhere down here. But since I haven't started it, I kind of want you guys' input on whether we should actually build it. Should we wait? Should we start construction already, even though Fjordholm is quite a small city? What do you guys think? I'd be very interested in some input here, because on the one hand, I think it could be very fun to use the road builder to like integrate trams into the very narrow alleys that kind of cut through the center of the city here. But on the other hand, it's very expensive, it's quite complex, and Fjordholm really doesn't have the size for it just yet, at least. And we've actually got some people lined up here waiting for the passenger train to arrive. Such a cool sight here in our little town. But that's a wrap. I'm gonna shoot some final cinematics. Want to thank you guys so much for watching, all the feedback, comments and nice suggestions, and of course I hope to see you on the next one. Goodbye.